Welcome back to the Big Plantation. And, it's always hard to focus when you have gloved, white-shirted people with their hands down your pants. So we were getting, as I said earlier, we were getting molested by the TSA there for a minute. But we are free again. So we're going to bring it to your next guest here tonight. We had to bring him in at the last minute. We just had to have James Babb on again because he is just doing some really he's a real mover and shaker right now, and always a good time to have one. Babb, how are you doing?
Awesome. Great to be with you.
Thank you. So, I mean, give us the full rundown of what's going on. I mean, because we had you on a few weeks ago when the whole advertising thing with the jury nullification was still in the planning phases. I mean, you friggin' raised up money like that and got it into the metro station down there in D.C. and it was all over the Washington Post. I saw Ben Swan covered it, and now you're getting even more ambitious and talking about going and putting these ads in Chicago and other places. So, what kind of response have you been getting?
Well, the response has been excellent. Yeah, when we talked last, this was in the planning stage, and you said I raised the funds. I didn't really have that much to do with it besides just getting it going. It's the generosity of our amazing community stepped up and made it possible. So I kind of got the ball rolling, but it'd be nothing without some, a lot of people like really digging deep into their wallets to make this happen. So, we started out. I said, I got a quote on a few ads. I was like, okay, we can get an ad up for like $1,000. So like, well, let's see if we can raise that. And it was like, boom, the next day it was done. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can get 2 ads. A couple more days, boom, that was done. I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. So we ended up with 3 ads. With the money was raised in less than a week for the D.C. Metro, both Judiciary Square and the Archives Metro Station. So people, anybody, depending on what line you're coming into to get to D.C. Superior Court, if you're coming in on the Metro, you got a good chance of seeing one of those. So, the message is pretty simple. Jury duty, know your rights. Google jury nullification, that kind of stuff. No victim, no crime is the primary message. So hopefully somebody will see it. The federal prosecutors definitely saw it. So, which I'm really thankful for because they've really helped propel this campaign. So, by them complaining about it, that got the Washington Post's attention. So once the Washington Post covered it, that's how the media sort of functions as a herd. They're like, well, I guess it's safe to report on because somebody else reported on it. So then the others, like the Fox 5 local affiliate down there said, oh, can we get you on to talk about it? Like, okay, let's do it, So there's the exposure that you get from people being in the subway station, but that's nothing compared to people that saw the photo of the ad in the Washington Post or watch the news in the morning. So, it's been pretty cool.
I said, yeah, it's really exciting to see. And one thing that's really telling for me is the reaction of prosecutors that I saw in the Washington Post is that they are actually pulling juries aside and grilling them and saying, have you seen this ad down the Metro? There's a bad ad. No, slap in the hand, bad ad. I thought that was totally hilarious. I mean, I wonder what these people are actually thinking.
It is.
Is there any cases where a juror did in fact say, yes, I saw this, and they were taken off?
You're breaking up on me.
I said, is there any cases that you know of where a juror answered, yes, I did see this ad, and then they were then in fact taken off of that jury for tampering or whatever?
I wouldn't know if it's true. The reporter from the Washington Post was rather clueless. He mentioned that there's been 3 cases where the judge asked the jury if they had seen it, not the prosecutor, but the judge. And for these cases, no one said they had. So, but this reporter wasn't really on the ball. We talked for about an hour with this guy, both me and Kirsten at Fully Informed Jury Association. Together, we probably talked to this guy for over an hour. At first, he thought a victimless crime was like when there's a murder, but you can't find the body. He had no idea what we were talking about. But after like talking to him for an hour, you read his newspaper article and it comes across like, oh, this is a campaign to protect vandals, like people that do vandalism. Like, the guy's completely clueless.
Wow.
I mean, and then he mentions these murder cases and things that are completely off topic. Like he has no really idea what we were talking about. But he ran the photo. He ran they reproduced the headlines. People could see it for themselves. So, it's pretty funny stuff.
I think it's pretty funny, and it just exemplifies that fear. And you know what? It makes so much more sense now that I know it was the judge going to these juries. Because what point is it to be a judge if you don't have complete and total dominion over your courtroom, and everyone else be damned? So that makes so much more sense. And so tell us about the continuation of this campaign, moving on into Chicago, and I think you named a couple other cities that you're hoping for.
Well, right now I've got fundraising links out for 3 different campaigns, which include Los Angeles, New York, and keeping Washington going. So, but I've gotten interest from people in Boston and Phoenix, and Chicago was also on my list to do. I'm going to put them out there, and if people want to make it happen, I can work with them. It's first thing I need. We could really do this in any city. And we can stir the pot anywhere and poke that hornet's nest. So since you have listeners all over the place, if you want it in your town, hit me up. First thing I need is somebody like on location that can help scout out the key spots. That's kind of the hardest part for me to do remotely. Is I can get quotes on billboards and ad space and that kind of stuff, but until you're there, you can't really tell. If it's the right spot. So some local help there. Anybody wants to, hit me up. We have a website set up. It's called juryrightsproject.com. And anybody can go there. It's got more information about the campaign and links for the fundraising sites to support those. So people can contact me through that and kick into the fundraising if they want to help.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a worthy cause there, and that's obviously effective as shown by the fear there. And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going to go off the limb here and make a guess. What is your next move after that? Because I'm guessing the next move, as obviously is going to be done by all the people who are against the TSA, you are going to stuff a copy of End the Fed in your pocket, a copy of Behold a Pale Horse by Bill Cooper, and then waltz into the airport with a machine gun. Is that right?
Well, you know my style, right? Luckily I'm a nonviolent person, and I think the damage I've done to the TSA is just to play videos of them in action. I think that's damaging enough to them.
Now, I had a question for you. Do you think we had stated earlier about the event that just took place in L.A. Do you think it's possible that the TSA, this may be a move now to warrant them being armed?
Well, that's certainly going to be an end result. I would be shocked if it's not. I'm sure whatever, caused the incident, the end result is going to be more, a ratcheted up of their ridiculous security theater. It was kind of, it's really sad. I don't advocate that kind of violence. It's understandable why somebody would feel that kind of hatred, to these child molesters, and what they're doing is wrong, but it's just tactically unsound to try to use this kind of violence and think that that's going to somehow make things better for anybody. It's just
and for the record, I was just being facetious.
Of course, I know that, but I am waiting though for them to come out and say, see what you anti-TSA people did. They read WeWon'tFly.com and they got all these ideas in their head, and it's your fault.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
That's the way people think.
I'm waiting for that, and and then of course fiat currency is a gateway terrorism.
Yeah.
Well, at least I haven't, advocated physically ending the Fed, only metaphysically ending the Fed,
Well, I know somebody who actually once posted on their Facebook that they were going to physically do that and got visited by federal agents.
I know that person quite intimately.
Gee, I wonder who that
was. I know he plays an awful lot of video games and he needs to stop. They're turning his brain into mush.
I don't play a lot of video games. Shut up. No, I mean, for anybody in our audience that doesn't know, you can type in Mike Heiss. If you just type in Mike Heiss FBI,
you'll see several things, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm making the rounds to all the agencies. It's getting exciting. But if you type in Mike Heiss FBI, you will see that I had a phone call with the FBI. I was out job hunting one day, and when I was still living with my parents, and I get a call from my dad saying, "Hey, the FBI was just here, and they were looking for you." And I'm like, "All right, well, I've been waiting for this for a while." And so I was pretty nervous, and I know it went against your advice, Babb, to not talk to them. But basically, my plan was to call them and say, "Hey, you're being recorded," and depending on their reaction to that, to go all right, I'm getting my lawyer route. And fortunately, they expressed being fine with being recorded, and the phone call proceeded. But they did in that conversation basically try to turn the conversation to if you see something, say something. Oh, these groups end up getting people. Sometimes they get people who like Timothy McVeigh, and you get one psycho, and now the word militia is devil worship and all this crazy stuff. So I mean, it happened, and it does happen. I mean, we've seen worse. I got it lucky. I was lucky. I'm lucky to be here. Probably. I mean, look at Brandon Robb.
Well, especially since you actually volunteered to talk to them and incriminate yourself. You really got – I'm surprised that, I'm sure there's things you said that were added to the file that, make, who knows, just being innocent is no longer a defense. Just, people need to remember that. So if anybody else is in that situation, you know what, if you get a call from any kind of law enforcement, you have your lawyer call them back. That's all you do. You just don't talk to them. And we really got to be disciplined about this. And, that was what I expressed to you, and, people are going to do what they're going to do, but I cannot emphasize that enough. Having read so many stories about how they entrap people and how they can turn an innocent person into a conviction, it's just, you don't want to mess around with that.
And how close are we, which is one of my huge fears, how close are we from being completely robbed of any constitutional rights where the guarantee of a lawyer or a fair trial are gone because of the loosely used term enemy combatant or the change of this war on terror? I mean, how soon can that happen? It seems like the quickness that we're moving at in horrible directions, that doesn't seem like too much of a stretch. And what do you do at that rate when you are just plastered with an offense that you had nothing to do with, but you never get a chance to defend yourself in the court of law via a lawyer because, I don't know, maybe you had a history of, claiming to physically end the Fed or something?
Human rights. It's just newspaper. Sorry.
If they're kicking in your door, it's too late. You got to think. You got to think steps way ahead of that possibility, and to just be as smart as you can. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's recent grand jury hearings connected to the Kokesh trial. Did you guys hear about that?
I did hear about that. I saw the post that Lucas got flown out on the government dime. That they were so interested in it.
It was Lucas, Nathan Cox, Kimberly Woods, and somebody. I'm thinking there was somebody else, but I'm drawing up. I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't know if you guys are aware of how dangerous grand juries are, but a grand jury is nothing like it was originally designed for. Today, it's basically an inquisition run by prosecutors. And witnesses are brought in, like Nathan is the only one that really reported on what he said that I read. They brought him in on very short notice. He did not have time to get a lawyer. Even if he had a lawyer, the lawyer's not allowed in the room with you. No transcript is available. No judge is present, okay? And you're under oath to answer any question they throw at you. And you have no Fifth Amendment protection.
So I just want to make this clear. This is grand juries. This is not the NDAA.
our legal system.
That sounds like being court-martialed. Like in the Army.
But
how are they justifying
I'm definitely
that?
curious to hear about this because I don't know the full details, so break it down.
Well, this is, I mean, it's, you know, you read this stuff and you're like, what the hell? I mean, it really sounds like, you know, we're talking about Soviet Russia kind of operation. And there is if you could Google grand jury resistance movement. And that's why I learned a lot about it. But when I started hearing about this, I'm like, oh my God! It's in contemporary times. It's used to disrupt activist networks. That's its primary function, as far as I can tell. So they bring in people, they force them to answer questions about each other, and if you don't answer truthfully, you can go to jail immediately. They could just say, "That's not true. Go to jail." Or if you refuse to answer, they can send you to jail for the remainder of that jury session, which can be up to 18 months.
What law are they citing
no trial,
to do this?
There's no. It's the We Do What We Want Act. That's what it is. It's the We Do Whatever the Hell We Want, and What Are You Going to Do About It Act. And it's insane. Anyway, so of course I was a little bit concerned. They asked Nathan Cox. Okay, they're asking him questions about Adam and stuff. How many guns does he have? Does he have a green screen? They're trying to verify that video that made Adam famous. They were like, do you know who helped make the video? You know, they're looking for accomplices, basically. But then they're like, and who's behind this jury nullification ad campaign?
Oh my God, that's frightening. My God, am I glad I got out of there when I did.
I don't want my name coming up, in a grand jury hearing. But, Nathan gave him my name. I mean, it is common knowledge, so he didn't really have any choice. I mean, first of all, they know, who was behind it. If he had said, I don't know, they could have proved that he was lying and sent him to jail right there. So, but, it just adds to their file, adds to their, we've got sworn testimony that says James Babb, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Oh, God.
That's really frightening, man. I'm sorry to hear that, honestly.
Well, you know what, but at first I was a little nervous about it, honestly. I was like, should I get my lawyer in on this now, just in case this goes south? But since time has passed, I'm a little bit, in a way, first of all, if they didn't notice what we were doing, how would we know we're effective? If they're not going to respond, we have no idea if we're doing the right thing. But, what's the saying? If, you're over the target when you're catching flack. So this confirms that this is a good project.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Bovard thinks so. He called you the most effective activist in the nation in his most recent article.
I got to talk to Jim. Yeah. He said it could be.
Could be. You're right. You're right. It was could be.
He could also not be, it's funny, the part he left out was, he could be the most effective activist if he wasn't such a big jerk. Or, but Jim's a good guy. But obviously he was overstating that a bit.
Right. Well, what do you think is the end game after this Kokesh situation? I mean, there's got to be a way to publicize more the type of thing we're talking about. I mean, this is really, really important for people to understand. Because, like you said, this is activities of communist Russia. And it seems like we have a lot more power behind us than communist Russia did before it fizzled out. Seems like the powers that be learned from Russia's mistakes and went ahead and just got an endless money system to make sure they could finance their Marxist dream. What can we do to wake people up to this? And then how do you change it? How can we possibly change this downhill spiral that we're in?
Well, I look to the advice of Larkin Rose and about the most dangerous superstition. Best thing we can do is just educate our neighbors and our family and people that we come across, about the nature of the state itself and expose its illegitimacy. Because no matter what happens with the dollar, no matter what happens with political upheaval and revolution, and things can get all kind of weird. However, if that belief in the legitimacy of a ruling class persists, we get nowhere. Mm-hmm. So, that's why I think we really have to just focus on, exposing it as illegitimate, reveal its illegitimacy. The moral cause. We have the moral high ground. Ruling people is wrong. Okay, that's we stick to that. Expose the failures of government. Even when it claims to do something good, point out when it fails. I think if we can focus on those two things, and then cover our own asses, have some Bitcoin, some silver, some farmland, some ammunition, some skills. That's all we can do is be prepared for what comes our way.
And connect through a liberty movement, which is offering a barter system. We need our own doctors. We need our own everything to counterpart to this system as it fails before our eyes. But, what really scares me is, I don't know if you've seen, there's been an awful lot of postings of the type of militarization of the police currently happening. I just saw one the other day where a black family was videotaping inside their home as the police were banging down their door, yelling out the wrong address. And obviously this is a mistaken identity. They still work their way in and put them all in one room and handcuff them. I mean, that's the type of thing that people need to know is happening right now.
And unfortunately, I don't mean to cut you off. We are coming here closely closing the show. So, Babb, real quick, where can people see your work? What is that website again?
Rolled into one.
Oh, I couldn't hear him. I'm sorry.
The website.
Yeah, please plug your website. We're right at the end of the show now, if you wouldn't mind. Tell people where they can find you.
Sure. JuryRightsProject.com.
JuryRightsProject.com, everybody. Check it out.
We'll post that on Big Plantation.
Fund it if you believe it. We will be posting it here to the Big Plantation. But that brings the end of our show. And we had a great show. We had a great time. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Julio. We're going to try and get him back next week. But who we definitely do have next week that I am super excited about is that we are having G. Edward Griffin on our show next week. So make sure you share. Make sure you let everybody know. Scream it from the rooftops and call in, because this is a pretty highly qualified guest that we're having. He's ready to take on any challenging questions you might have. So make sure to mark that on your calendars, and we will see you next week live at the Big Plantation.
Thanks for listening to FPRN. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. If you'd like to start your own show with FPRN, advertise with us, or donate to the network or to your favorite shows, check out our website at www.fprnradio.com.